The hockey playoffs are upon us, and there is no better time to watch or bet on hockey. And as a public service, I, Loud Esmond, sports betting professional, I'm going to give you all a primer on the basics of betting on hockey, one of the fastest and most exciting sports on which to bet. Okay, let's start with the easy stuff. As with most sports, the simplest way to bet is what is called a money line bet. Here, you're just betting on which team is going to win the game. Some moneyline bets can be problematic, however, during the regular season because betting on the favorite comes at a high cost and has little value, while betting on the dog is a very high risk. For example, a game between the Colorado Avalanche, one of the top teams in the league, against the San Jose Sharks, one of the worst teams in the league, might have money line odds such as Avalanche minus 400, Sharks plus 350. Under this scenario, you're going to have to bet $400 to win 100, and that is still minus the VIG, the percentage cost you're just placing your wager. It's a steep risk with little reward, and to have a chance at a big payout, you're going to bet $100 to try to win $350 on an outcome that is dubious at best. However, the teams are much more competitive during the playoffs in the NHL, and the moneyline bet odds reflect this and are usually much tighter. This makes this a much more attractive choice during playoff hockey. Another way to bet on hockey is the puck line, or against the spread. You're familiar with that term if you've bet on other sports, such as football, such as the 49ers were a 2-point favorite against the spread versus the Kansas City Chiefs in the last championship game. This meant if you bet on the 49ers, they would have to win the game by 3 points or more in order for you to cash that ticket, whereas if the Chiefs won, which they did, you lost your bet. And that's the way it went for me. In hockey, the lines are usually pretty much the same. Minus 1.5 or plus 1.5, depending on whether you're looking at the dog or the favorite. This is because so many hockey games are decided by one goal. In fact, more than 40% of all hockey games are decided by one goal. The margin of victory by goal generally is more likely at 2, next 3, then 4, then 5, and so forth. In fact, the percentages dwindle the higher you get, with 15% of hockey games making the margin of 4 or greater goals. This can make taking the underdog look juicy at plus 1.5 in playoff games, but you're going to pay a penalty for it. I'd say you're going to be at least minus 130, meaning you're going to have to bet maybe more likely minus 150. You're going to bet $150 to win 100, but I still like those bets, especially in the NHL playoffs. Another way of betting sports, which you probably have heard of, is the over-under bet. Works the same in hockey as it does in other sports. There's a number. It used to be more like 4.5, 5, 5.5, but over the years, especially starting after like 2010, the scoring in hockey really started to go up dramatically, and now it's not at all unusual to see an over-under number of 6, 6.5, even 7. So let's say you have a total of line of 6 over-under number between a game with the Bruins and the Panthers. Now, this wager involves whether or not you think that combined score between the two teams will be over or under 6. Well, one way to quickly research that I would certainly do, is take a look at the goals for and goals against numbers for both teams. And you can find this stuff at, well, lots of places, but my favorite place to go is NHL.com. It does an excellent job of collating stats for the NHL in ways that make it easy for bettors to read and make judgments. Okay, so looking at those numbers, the Bruins score 3.27 goals per game, and they give up 2.67 goals per contest. Conversely, the Panthers score 3.23 on average and relinquish 2.48. Note, both teams give up less than 3 goals per game. Okay, now in addition to that, I know, and you could find this out by researching it a little bit, Scoring usually goes down slightly in the playoffs. So in the NHL, it goes down about 5%. Now, give me both teams with decent defenses. I'd like the under here because both teams have solid defenses. They allow less than 3 goals per game. I'm looking at maybe a 3-2 outcome here, most likely meaning, as I said, I would be on the under. Okay, so that's the money line, the spread, and the over-under. Some other things to consider. Is there a home ice advantage in hockey? Many people favor the home team in close contests, especially in the playoffs, because of a perceived advantage in hockey known as home ice. Actually, in the AHL, it's not a big factor. Although I have not seen any research specific to the NHL postseason, the number of home teams that win is around 50%. So it's just not a big advantage either way. Short rest, another thing to consider. During the NHL regular season, you can take advantage of teams that are tired because they've been on a long road trip or they're playing back-to-back games. That happens a lot less in the NHL playoffs, although it does happen. For example, if one team wins their series in 4 games and the other team goes a full 7, the team that won in 4 is going to be coming in off a lot more rest than the team that had to go all the way to 7 games. Now, take a look at the team's schedules, see when each team played last, if they had any overtime games, which will make them even more physically tired, and it gives you a sense, at least, of maybe one team might be more worn out than the other, and this is something you might be able to take advantage of. The dreaded backup goalie. Sometimes, even during the playoffs, NHL teams will choose to play a backup goaltender for strategic or injury reasons. Look, they're the backup for a reason. They're not as good as the starting goalie, otherwise they'd be the starter. Generally, a team playing a backup goalie in the net is at a disadvantage, and oftentimes I will look for the scoring to go up in that contest. Live betting on hockey. Because hockey is so fast-paced, the opportunity to live bet during games can be thrilling and frustrating because the odds can change so rapidly. One of my favorite strategies to use in live betting a hockey game is to watch for a game with a big underdog and see if that underdog scores first. If they do, the odds on the favorite are going to swing in your favor, and you can get a bet down on them at a much more reasonable rate. Now, I'll usually stick with the favored team to win, even if they get down a couple of goals. And I love it when a favorite goes down early by 2 or 3 goals in a game. I'm going to pile up some bets on that favorite because I believe as the better team, they're going to come back and win that game in the second and third period, or even come get it in overtime. Finally, get advice if you can get it. There are professional handicappers like me who are available at places like Winners and Winers, StatSalt, Picks and Parlays, and others. You can get free advice on any sport, any game by cruising the internet, and especially by going to the sites I just mentioned. So be sure to get there and use their knowledge. Often, we are privy to stats, trends, and other information you're just unaware of, and you can use our insight to help you pick winners. I hope you found this information helpful. Remember to bet legally and only bet what you can afford to lose. As my good friend Scotty Wetzel said for a long time and still does, nobody beats the boys in Vegas long term. Well, except this guy sometimes. And if you have a question, just put it in the comment thread. I'll try to get an answer to you quickly. Like us, follow us, and come get your free information at all the sites I mentioned, Winners and Winers, StatSalt, and also, of course, Picks and Parlays. I'm Loud Esmond, and I'm trying to make you a better hockey better.